So this is a topic I've brought up a few times on my channel because it does dovetail into other topics that I have an interest in talking about, but I wanted to make a hopefully brief rundown of why I use social media because I think we're all online for one reason or another. So my goal is to find friendship and connections both online and offline. Connections where I can get to know someone and be known in return, and where I can be entertaining and supportive and hopefully find this in other people myself. And I believe you can find good friendships online. I never used to believe this was possible, but during a lonely period, I realised it was possible. But I put it down to my loneliness at the time. But when I gained a few friends in real life, I still found myself searching the internet for new people. I never go into any new chat thinking I've found my future spouse or that we'll even meet up. My initial hope is that at the very least we'll still be talking and have some familiarity in years' time. But I don't believe you can get to know people exclusively through posts or live streams. It does require private communication, preferably in live video or audio calls, but chances are most of our time talking will be in a messenger app. But I do require a few things to feel like I can get to know someone that way. So the first thing is a good topic. Hi, how's you, what you up to isn't conversation. It's just mild small talk. It goes nowhere. They're basically scraps designed so that the initiator can tick off the box and say they've spoken to you recently. I want actual topics. I want to ask questions and be asked questions. And I want to chat about nerdy or random stuff. I just want to get to know people, really. The second thing is good quality replies. Replies with actual thought put into them. No short replies or message reactions. Honestly, I'm at that point now where my preferred method is audio or visual messages, video messages. Pushing aside the obvious fact that there are so many catfish accounts these days, I actually find texting so impersonal, empty and boring, even if it's with someone that I'm actually enjoy talking to. The third thing is good continuity, so no random subject changes, and it actually means a lot to me when a person who is too busy to reply to something now responds another time without having to be prompted, especially when their reply is a good quality reply. In fact, I'm not even a fan of goodbye messages. I'd much rather, if one of us has to go out or go to bed, that we leave the message unopened and respond when we can. This actually means that there are no arguments in the future about who messages who first because it's on the last recipient to reply. And the chat can pick up where it left off without having to go through that small talk stage. Plus, if you only have sort of 6 or 7 short windows to talk that day, you get a conversation that runs through the day rather than the 6 or 7 hi, how are you conversations that go nowhere. Some of the best chats I've had are with people where the chats flowed for months or even years without a single be right back message. They actually felt like one conversation, even though the topic over time would naturally change. The final thing that I'd want is time. Now, I'm not saying that I expect or even want people to be stuck on their phones talking to me all day. I would hate that just as much as they would. But I don't want to only hear from people when they're bored or when they want something, or the token messages just to sort of check in with me, or when they're about to head out or go to bed. And I'm bored of the one message a month, which is a brief rushed reply to whatever I sent them in the past, and a huge essay, followed by a huge essay about how busy they've been, that's obviously copied and pasted to multiple people. So those are the 4 things that I want. And obviously these are things that I want to do for other people too. And it is usually, once I'm engaged, how I like to be. They're kind of my 4 rules that I apply to myself. But I will admit that the moment I'm left carrying a conversation or having to figure out what to say to an emoji, or I realise I've got to send someone a prompt message even though my last message is still there waiting for them to reply when they can, I do lose faith and become someone who does keep his replies brief or does use message reactions, simply because I want to put effort into the chat. But there's just no point if you're only talking to me to show your face, and the second someone else shows up, my reply will be hit with a reaction icon and you'll leave or something like that. I want to be able to send a message and know that even if it's not replied to now, it will be replied to later or another day, and without me having to prompt and therefore feel like a really sort of pushy person. Now, I have mentioned all this before on a few videos or a few live streams, and I do get the usual haggling from people that comes with expressing any kind of preference or boundary these days. The sort of thing where they try to make you feel bad for having preferences, but I ignore these. But I also get people who agree and understand my points and insist that they want the same thing, but then they start with the whole thing of, yeah, it's good, but you have to understand I'm a very busy person. Now, honestly, in this video alone, I've already mentioned that I'm not a person that's after everyone's whole day. In fact, I think my method is very busy schedule proof. And if they wanted to talk to me, they'd make some time. I just put this down to them setting up their excuses in advance. They want a good friendship from me, but they also want to be able to keep their foot in the door. They want to be able to leave anytime they want, and I'll just put it down to their busy schedule because they've dropped enough hints that they're a very busy person. Perhaps they're hoping that I won't question their leaving, because if I do, then I'll feel like the kind of arsehole that pressures people when they've already got a lot on their plate. Either way, this is really the main reason I'm on social media, to have good conversations with people long term. Currently, I have nobody to really have these kinds of conversations with. Although I'm a very private person and very selective over who I call a friend or who I associate with, I do sometimes feel the loneliness. But I'm optimistic that one day I will find someone, or they'll find me, and I'll be able to have those kinds of conversations, and eventually I'll be able to feel confident in sending messages again. And you never know. I mean, it could end up with me meeting this person or us hanging out in person. But even if we're only talking online a year down the line, at least we'd have got to know each other better, and maybe even been able to have a friendship or something that's worth its weight in gold. You never know.